Hi there, Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for your ears. This will be the spoiler talk about bodies. It's going to be short, it's kind of a test, but don't listen to it until you've watched the movie or at least heard my first review. So again, spoiler alert, we're going to start by talking about the big plot twist, how the movie ends. If you don't want to know, do not listen to this podcast. Do not send me hate mail. I'm going to spoil the ending now. Okay. If you watch the whole movie, it's a satire of how Gen Zs, that people have described it, and I did it poorly. It's described as a Gen Z Twitter feed or social media feed, blown up into real life, exaggerated. I would agree with that. What happens while they're playing this clue-type game called Bodies, and someone's picked as a villain and everybody else has to hide, and then they find a dead body. Well, it turns out there wasn't a killer to begin with. Yeah. There's a red herring. You think Lee Pace has died. That's not it. And then we see bloodied Pete Davidson die. Throat slit. Everybody panics. Everybody assumes that there's a killer in the house. Everybody's got to run. Everybody's got to figure, So anyway. When we get to the end of the movie, and we're down to the last couple of people, the survivors who have guns on each other, they want to look at the tweets back and forth and whatever, and they see a video on Pete Davidson's phone. They're able to open his phone because they open his eyes, and his dead face unlocks his iPhone. And there's a video of him trying to do what the cool guy did earlier by using the big knife to cut the end of a bottle off to open a champagne bottle. And he does it every which way, and if you know anything about knives, swords, and whatever, you never point them towards your throat or face. You always do everything away, whether you're whittling, cutting something, whatever. But he does it the opposite way and accidentally cuts his throat. That's what we see him stumbling around because he's accidentally cut his throat and he dies. So the entire movie is a misunderstanding. The entire movie and everybody who dies after is just because of a oops. Of an idiot who is trying to replicate something he saw to be as cool as somebody else in the room. To me, that's what makes the movie perfect. Some people will go, well, that's kind of a cop-out or it's kind of a shortcut. Or no, I think it actually fits the movie perfectly. What they were trying to say about that generation and the fact that all of this because of nothing, yeah, that's pretty much the icing on the cake. That pretty much nails the punchline of the entire movie. I think it's a perfect ending and elevates the movie. Some people will disagree. Some people will think there wasn't enough killing in this movie. It wasn't very funny. These are people I've seen in or I know or I am. I expect a lot of those reviews are complaints. But it truly is poking fun at an entire generation, asking them to laugh at themselves, and then weave this funny little story. Again, the front blurb on it, horror comedy, must-see horror comedy. It's a satire. It's not really a horror comedy. It wants to be. The director said she knows nothing about horror movies. She's not a fan. She was making an update of Clue in her mind. So there you go. That people complain it's not a horror movie. She's not a horror director. She wasn't trying to make a horror movie. It's got some horrible stuff, but, anyway. I did enjoy the film. I'm glad I do want to rewatch it. I think I will get more out of it. It really seems kind of vapid, kind of, nothing on the surface, just kind of there. But there is more going on, and it was well written, well acted, well directed. So Bodies is available now. I did a quick search. The 4K is definitely a Best Buy exclusive, which I think is crazy. I don't know why. The movie didn't do so well, so I get limiting it. I was thinking that the only other time this has really happened is Shaft, the remake that came out a couple of years ago. Samuel L. Jackson and the 3 generations of Shaft. Not the best movie ever, but it was a lot of fun. Best Buy got the exclusive 4K. And man, that was a lot worse. The 4K that's all you got. You got no extras. There were extras on the Blu-ray. You didn't get a Blu-ray. You got a digital copy and the 4K, and that's it. the extras were only on the Blu-ray. You didn't get a Blu-ray in it. I have no idea. That was the weirdest decision ever. I almost went out and bought the Blu-ray just to get some of the extras, but the movie just didn't really deserve that. But the movie is fun. I've watched it a couple times. I think there's a review up in the podcast area. But that was the only other time I can remember that a 4K edition was exclusive to Best Buy. That just doesn't make any sense when, well, people aren't buying that many movies these days anyway. They want to limit it to just one store. Kind of shows you the power of Best Buy. A few months ago, there was a Best Buy exclusive 4K Steelbook, and it was #1 on the video charts. The movie was only available on 4K in a Steelbook from Best Buy. And of the overall, not the Best Buy movie charts, but the overall home video charts, it was the #1 seller that week. That shows you the power that Best Buy still has with those kinds of things. Bodies, 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 only the 4K. That's the way to see it. I didn't talk enough about the soundtrack in my review. It's got there's a lot of contemporary music in it and some great sound effects of the hurricane. Not as directional as I would really like in a superb Atmos mix, but considering the budget of the film and how well it did, I think it's a pretty good mix, actually. Surprised that some older movies are not getting as many Atmos mixes. There's a lot of 5.1 mixes and even 2.0 mixes coming out these days. And I don't know, is it that hard? Is that expensive to find somebody to mix it in Dolby Atmos? I can do 5.1 with this system I'm recording on right now. I just don't have it set up that way. Eventually, I'd like to do that. Wouldn't it be interesting to hear my podcast in surround sound if you had the technology? Anyway, bodies, bodies, bodies. The twist makes it work, I think. It's just another absurdity in an absurd movie about a generation who thinks a lot of things are absurd. I honestly don't think one generation is better or worse than another. I'm from a previous generation. I'm kind of between two generations, actually. My age group, we talk about the fact that we're not really this or we're not really that, whichever one. I don't judge people that way. I know people who are younger than me who are more mature or more worldly or whatever, and I know people older than me who are younger than me and all that kind of stuff. So generation, schmeneration, yes, I'm from a particular time, and that, that dates me and my schoolmates and stuff, but I tend to be a pretty contemporary person and live in modern times. Nostalgia is great, but I'm in radio, and I got to stay abreast of everything, whether it be news, music, movies, pop culture, you name it. Who's dating who? As much as I don't care about those things, it's important to my job, so I keep up with all that stuff. Bodies, bodies, bodies. One of those kind of movies we need right now. Didn't do so well because the audience that it was targeting was also the audience was supposed to consume it. But I think you'll get a kick out of it if you check it out. Most of my podcasters seem to be of my, my inclination mentally. So I'd pick up the 4K edition if you can. It's available at Best Buy while they still have them, or you can pick up the Blu-ray anywhere. It's available on streaming services now. Bodies, bodies, bodies. A smarter movie than it appears. An excellent twist. A good ending. Well directed, well acted. It's surprisingly good. You just have to be in the mood for it. It is a heavy, heavy satire. Scott Hamilton, I'm ROCKFILE. My links are below. More podcasts are on the way. Thank you for listening. Have a spectacular day.